first question is growing inequality in Thailand affect Thailand's democracy?
The observation on the socioeconomic situation of the country clearly indicates that inequalities are strong, and unfortunately they are more towards the growing side than the reduction. Now, a lot of efforts are being made by the government, but more broadly by, I think, all development stakeholders to really limit them and go towards the other way, reducing them. Right? A lot of policies and instruments have been put in place, and of course implementation is ongoing, and it always takes a moment to see the effects. On the relationship between the inequalities and the democracy, I think this is a very complex relationship, right? And there's no a demonstration of this, but one would think that indeed, if the inequalities persist, and especially if the hope goes away that there is a better future, right? If citizens of any country, Thailand and other countries, do not trust their political leadership, do not believe that the government is taking the measures that are required to reduce the inequalities, then their mistrust can translate into social unhappiness and contestation. Right? So I think it's very important that we do not underplay the urgency of addressing inequalities. And from what we see, it is discussed, but not only discussed, but actions is being taken. So I'm confident that we do not need to convince anyone of the importance of the inequalities. It is clearly articulated in the government's actions and the government's vision.
Okay, but in Thailand's context, what is the best way out for this? What is the best solution in Thailand context?
Well, I think what we need to look at is obviously we need growth, right? And I think the global economy is suffering these days, and what we need to do is to make sure that a more conducive environment is created to sustain growth, especially in a country like Thailand in the middle income area, and very importantly that the benefits of the growth, the results of the growth, be shared. Right? We need to kind of balance on one side moving forward, but also leaving no one behind, making sure that nobody falls off the train of development, the train of growth, and that requires social policies that will compensate, those inequalities. So if we can guarantee that the efforts being made by the government and by the business sector, for example, clearly show that there is not only an understanding of the need to take action, but some quick results. I think this will allow a deepening of the trust, and therefore a deepening of democracy. We believe that by making sure that people have a voice, have a space to express, their aspirations, their dreams, and that there are accountability mechanisms, right, between the citizens and those who take decisions on their behalf. These are prerequisites not only of a solid democracy, but also of a whole political system that will successfully address inequalities.
Okay. So, from your experience and your observation about in Thailand and both in international countries outside Thailand, why do you believe that Thailand has essentials or tools to sustain and develop the better society, the sustainable society?
Well, because Thailand is a strong economy, right? I mean, clearly there are some growth coming out of all the efforts by all the different players, and when you look at the vision that the political system has adopted, but also the action that is being taken, right? The commitment to this vision, it is also very, very strong, right? And we see a lot of efforts being made, not only in just announcements, but in action. Right? So the universal health coverage, for example, is a very powerful policy that allows a better equal access to health care. And we all know that health is a fundamental in what people wish and aspire for. Education, right? Numbers on education, at least in terms of enrollment, are very high in Thailand. Everybody has access to education. We all know also that the quality of education is something that would merit more attention, right? But I believe efforts are being made. So there's a lot of indications that the commitment of the government and more broadly of society at large is towards a reduction of inequality, is towards a deepening of democracy. But the focus needs to be kept and the efforts need to be sustained, right? One thing that international experiences show is that sustainability of those periods within a country of sustained democracy are much more conducive and enable a more successful reduction in inequalities. We need to give time to economies to generate the growth that will then allow a better distribution of the results of the growth and make sure that everybody can benefit from it.
Okay, one last question. So let's say, while healthcare education seems to be possible to equally distribute it to Thai people, so what about the incomes of the people? As long as Thailand still runs on the capitalism and money is everything, almost everything, so are there any acceptable point of equally distributed income?
Well, I think the systems that we see running through countries all around the world, right? The market economies are clearly the only options today. And in a globalized world, there is evidence that show that businesses and private sectors are those who are going to create the jobs and eventually the growth that will take up the countries. The role of government is really to provide a social security system that will help the redistribution of the positive results of this growth, and ensuring through those policies that those who have less access and less opportunities are not forgotten, right? So I think it's this combination of growth led by market mechanisms and by a vibrant private sector in a globalized economy, but also the efforts of the government at both national but also importantly local level that will put in place systems that will provide a safety net for those who have less chances and less opportunities, so that they are not completely forgotten, and that we see the social evolution, positive evolution of individuals still taking place in those societies.
So, lastly, do you have any suggestion for the government or the religious sectors that how can the pedestrians get more access to resources they need to start up?
Well, I think individuals, in the society, wherever they are, whether they are in part of the Bangkok urban population or in more remote areas, we need to guarantee that they have that. First of all, that they are taken care of, right? I mean, I think it's very important that any citizen do not feel like they are being abandoned, and this is extremely important for kind of the spirits of any society, right? And the government and its public services, there has to be a genuine effort to reaching out to all. Right? So not just go to where it's simple to go, but also to make special efforts to reach out to those who too often feel discriminated, feel forgotten. And I think if we see a proactive attitude of government services towards those individuals, then there's no doubt that Thailand will be able to address the challenges that it is facing.